Hello there, PBO people, especially you Crystal people watching this and everyone else. It is time for the Week 5 Power Rankings. You've waited so patiently, so long, and I'm happy to announce it's the same two people this season. It's Jarvis.
Hello.
And Kowtow.
Hello, friends.
Jarv, take it away. What are we doing?
Also known as Mr. Jarvisimo and Cow Terrific.
I'm glad he didn't see the other thing. Thank God. All right.
I don't know what the other thing was. But anyway, welcome back all. We're here for the mid-season update on the Crystal Ball Run power rankings. There's been a lot of movement. A lot of movement over these past 4 weeks, both in terms of roster movement, people maybe going beyond their expectations with how they've been steering their teams, and then some early season difficulties, sometimes due to struggles with their team, sometimes due to a harsh schedule, sometimes due to the natural volatility of Mons. So we're here to talk about all of that and kind of the rest of the season going forward. Kowtow, any kind of parting thoughts before we go forward?
Yeah, so when we initially started the very preseason rankings, we stated that we're going off of rosters, and we would speculate a little bit on how we thought the season would go, but we kind of wanted to base the rankings on what we thought the teams were capable of and the potential of them, and we would see where they would go from there. So far, we're halfway through the season, and we've been able to see where a lot of these teams are kind of shaping up, how the race is going to be ran, where everybody's going to land. There's plenty of potential for some shakeups later on into the season. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about upcoming records. We'll kind of base on our thoughts on what everybody has done to this point, but we can talk about what we think can happen later on and what we think we need to see from some people in order to kind of gauge our full idea on what the team is. So we'll talk about that, but we're going to be more focused on obviously what the team's results have been up to this point, and that's going to be the basis of where we put everybody going forward from here.
And I will say, everyone, with the exception of maybe our first team that we're going to talk about here at the bottom of the rankings, everyone can make playoffs. Right now, the final play-in spot is 2-2 with a -5 differential. Everyone is within spitting distance of that. You could literally every single person, with the exception of our bottom team here, the Sydney Sylveons, could literally get up to that in 1 week. Sydney and Kowtow and I have a little bit of insight into this because we've talked to Sydney. When we spoke about this team at the beginning, we probably placed it in the middle of the power rankings, but we said that this was a team that I think would be difficult to steer. I think I had said that I ran Iron Valiant and Sneasler together, and they kind of want to do similar things, and I think we're seeing that so far. Sydney has had by no means an easy schedule up to this point. Playing Adelaide, who's going to be in our top 4, New York, who's going to be in our top 4, but has clearly shown that this is not a season that necessarily they're having fun with, and a team that has been pretty difficult for them to get a grasp on.
Yeah, going into your game results, right off the bat, going down to Adelaide, going into Snowpoint, taking the L there, and it just it doesn't get easier going in. Your previous week 4 was probably the closest and best performance we've seen. We saw some good things. The Crown has been able to get into positions, but there just hasn't really been the ability to capitalize on anything. I think Volcarona has actually been my biggest the MVP of this team for me so far. I think it's been in positions to kind of take over the game, but it either just missed the stats spread by this much, or it just missed the opportunity to switch in on this mon and kind of pull things together. And I think there's been missed opportunities there, and I think there's the game results have kind of shown that, and it certainly doesn't get easier the rest of the schedule here. some tough teams coming up. You're gonna have to really think outside the box in order to pull away with some wins. Won't say that it's impossible. I know that there's a history with this player, and they've been able to make finals runs, and I think that they're capable of anything. But as far as the results have proven so far, it just hasn't been a great showing, and hopefully they can find some footing going into the second half of the season here.
I think one of the lessons, one of the takeaways for Sydney here is going to be a similar one that we're going to talk about with some of the upcoming teams. Kind of the keep it simple, stupid approach. When we see top mons like Terra Iron Crown have like 0 kills and 3 deaths in 3 games, it kind of suggests to us that they don't really know how they want to set it up or how to make it a win condition. I think Sydney's really getting kills with the Valiant and the Sneasler, but maybe sacking the Iron Crown, sacking the Rillaboom in order to position those mons. You're just losing too many resources in the mid game to try to set up those frailer endgame win cons. I think I had a similar issue last season when I had Iron Valiant and Sunset, and my Terra Garganackle was great, but I couldn't do anything with this Valiant. Again, it's a difficult mon. Sometimes you just got to run out with like a standard like a Life Orb set for Valiant, or like a booster speed Calm Mind 3 attack Iron Crown. Don't need to complicate it against a lot of these teams. Just roster wise, we don't think this is one of the weakest teams in Crystal, but the results speak for themselves. I wouldn't be surprised to see Sydney pull an upset or two in the last half of the season, but maybe not a playoffs run in the future. So, Soaring, are you here?
Yeah.
Who is your favorite YouTuber in the Crystal division?
It would have to be the Glasgow Glowbros, easily.
You know what? I think they're my favorite YouTuber as well, although they have been having a bit of a tough time of it. I think when we highlighted this team at the beginning, we said that there were some aspects of this team that we liked from Ty, but I particularly didn't like the Slowking Screamtail duo. And I think that we have been seeing similar challenges from Glasgow as we've been seeing from Sydney. That 0-2 Goldengo didn't even bring it to one of the matches. We haven't seen the Mamo really, and I think Mamo is just a disgusting mon whose dual stabs just hit into so many different teams, because it's hard to have dual coverage for both ice and ground. The Meow is picking up kills, but it hasn't clicked so far for Glasgow. Again, they're not necessarily out of the playoffs at all. They've had a pretty hard schedule up to this point. New York and Erie, very strong. Scottish Stoutlands are 2-2 up to this point, I believe. But kind of the differential in each of those matchups speak for themselves, and then a close win over Gotham. The rest of the schedule could very easily come out of it, 3-1, 4-0. But so far has definitely struggled with this team.
Yeah, I agree. You've had a really rough first half of the schedule, as we've seen. The majority of the teams that Glasgow has faced in the first half of the season have been pretty strong. That we've seen them come into their own. I think there have been some rough matchups going in, especially going up against the Snow. You had Mamoswine, but you couldn't bring it. Really, it wasn't really that much of a defensive check. I wish Alolan Sandslash had come into Caleb's team, just for the simple fact that I think it actually can take the Snow that's set by either your Slowking and the Glow King that's on the Nickits team. And I think it could have actually done a little bit of surprising damage. But hindsight is 2020. What came has come, and here we are sitting at 1-3. The win against Gotham, I do think you did put yourself into the necessary position to take advantage of the mistakes that were made by Gotham and pull out the victory. But I think that's about as close as it got. The good thing I can say for this team is I think that there's still potential in this team to kind of pull something out. and the schedule kind of aligns for it. You have some relatively lesser weight teams coming up here. The schedule kind of it's a little bit more forgiving in the second half, so there's potential to come to steer the ship in the right direction and potentially get yourself to a nice position of best case scenario is 5-3. That's how you got to look at this. Your best case scenario is 5-3 with a good shot of making playoffs. You're going to need some convincing wins to kind of bring your differential back up. But we've seen crazier. We've definitely seen crazier. So I think if you can utilize those pieces well, you have some really good pieces on this team. I think we just need to see some more utilization of some matchup variants. I think we need to see take advantage of your situations.
The more offensive mons, like using the Mamo. Next week you have a matchup against the other snow team with the Alolan Ninetales and the Pittsburgh Scizors. We talk about Terras the Titan as one of the mons that when you fit it on a team, it just racks up kills. I think when we're doing the all-time stats, and Terras the Titan has like one of the highest KDs in all of the PBO history. Alolan Sandslash can absolutely do that. You run like Alolan Sandslash with like loaded dice, rapid spin, icicle spear. That thing can just wreck. I think so far you've brought Chi-Yu as your Terra captain, I believe, to all the games, although it could be Kilowattrel for one.
I think that's correct.
I would love to see, more of the Sandslash. I think you said that, Ty. I'm speaking to you directly now as opposed to the entire audience. But I think you said that you had some issues prepping, like some time issues prepping for one or two of the matches. It happens, and if you're looking for kind of support, feel free to reach out. Would be happy to help. Kowtow, when you look at this roster, are there any pieces you would look to change? Is there kind of a gap in coverage or something that you would want to add?
I think this team is actually built pretty well. I like Double Dark on my team, but the fact that these two are two dark types that aren't necessarily they're both frail offense. They're glass cannons. I think that kind of doesn't really add to the Double Dark pairing. There is a lot of fatness to this team. You have Conk, Mamo that are bulky attackers, and then you have Gold, Slowking, and Screamtail that can sponge hits from a wide range of attacks, and then Grafaiai is kind of your utility piece that can be brought on a random week that can surprise your opponent with any random set. Kilo's your fast offensive counterpart to Meow. But I do think that this team, you have a lot of really good pieces. I fear to relate this to any teams, but I almost want to put this on a similar level to a Stargazer team. I want to relate this to the Femboys. I think this team gives me a similar vibe of like the roles are very well pronounced, but I think there's just it's not the biggest punch. There's not the highest team or the highest point values, but the team should work. And I think there's a lot of potential for it. Just need to see it. It takes a very good player to kind of bring out that max value. And I think if Ty can kind of pull some strings and cook some deals in the kitchen, then I think that this season is definitely not lost in any regard.
And when I look at this team, the three ones that kind of stand out to me are Meow, the best knockoff user kind of in the format. Goldengo, the best rapid spinner, and Mamo, who hits like a truck and can, easy stealth rock lead. And you haven't brought Mamo, and the gold kind of hasn't, like, it's been around, but it I don't think it's being maximized in that way. And if you're not super comfortable with kind of that synergy, maybe you drop the Mamo for the Dragonite that's somehow on the board. Or if you want to go fatter kind of to support the Slowking and the Screamtail, and like a max HP, max defense Goldengo, you could pick up the Clodsire and trade in the differential and the points between the Mamo and the Grafaiai for something else. I don't think this team necessarily has an identity crisis. I think Kowtow and I both would like to use this team, but it doesn't necessarily seem like Ty's having a ton of fun with it. So just figuring out what can we do to feel better about how we make that approach. I think that's going to be kind of your key clues going forward.
All 12 transactions still available too.
Yeah, you have plenty of potential this season is completely within your control. You can control the rest, the second half of this season, and hopefully we can see a good turnaround, because the schedule does get easier for you objectively compared to the first half, and we'll see if there's any kind of capitalization on it.
Soaring, trade deadline is week 6.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. It's
Yeah.
week 6.
So,
And after that, all transactions and swaps and of any kind are dead. You can't do it. Your team's locked.
yeah.
Well, people already know this because they read the rules. Everybody reads
they
the
do.
rules.
Go watch the video.
So word to Ty, but then word to kind of everyone else going on. If you're going to make changes, now's the time. Soaring, objectively, what is the best type of weather?
Rain.
All right, what's the second best type of weather?
Sand.
Third?
Snow. Snow's second. Sand is third.
All right. Our next team is the Pittsburgh Scizors.
Can it be sun? Damn it.
It's the snow team. This is I think we call this like our second or third snow team. But if we're talking like true snow team, this has the dedicated setter with the Alolan Ninetales. I think one of the first things that we talked about when we were reviewing this team was, man, this team is slow. The fastest thing is the Alolan Ninetales. I think everything else is like under 100 speed. Carved out a win week 1, which, looking back on it now, looks pretty good. A bit of a struggle for the following weeks. I think New York was a pretty bad matchup. And then, the nail biter against Snowpoint City, and then I think Long Island was pretty much in control week 3, if I recall. Annihilate is another one of those ones that I think can be difficult to steer or difficult to set up. There are times where if you just put rocks in the field, get a little bit of chip on the right mons, then one bulk up and it's like off to the races, but that hasn't really been the case for Pittsburgh so far. Terra Hoopa is a disgusting mixed attacker. Hasn't really been able to get it going. Hasn't really brought it to many of the matchups. I still really like this team. I would like to see 1 or 2 changes again to kind of fix the speed tier. Because again, it's just you're so slow. And you don't necessarily have like a great Scarfer unless you're going to bring, kind of the Scarf Hoopa. Kata, anything that's jumped out to you in watching their matches?
Yeah, so I think we've been able to see what works and what doesn't with Pittsburgh. Your win came against a team that we mentioned early on in the preseason that it was a very balls to the walls, kind of hit you with everything they have, and we'll see what happens next. They came in. Your type matchup was actually pretty good into that team. What you wanted to do kind of worked in your favor, and you were able to pull that out week 1. Going into weeks 2 through 4, however, not so much. I think this we saw that setup going up against an opponent's bulk. It just didn't really turn out in your favor, and I think this is it's not the most discouraging of seasons so far. I think there's still plenty of room to grow. The remainder of the schedule kind of looks more favorable than not, but it is going to be interesting to see what happens here, because I think the team as it stands, I think it's just it's very slow and fat. We're beating a dead horse here. But the fact that both your Annihilate and your Hoopa, 2 guys that should be kind of vying for top spots in kill leaderboards more times than not, from one league to another. Your Ape is 2-4, and your Hoopa has come to 1 game and it's 0-1. Both are Terra captains. They want to share that Terra. They want to eat it all to themselves. Your kill distribution has been spread through Kira and Ninetales, which tells me that you're able to exploit certain type matchups, but when it comes to dealing with more varied offensive threats, more varied defensive checks, it's just been something that's given you a lot of trouble. seeing that in games and seeing that through the results. As far as what you can do, you have some matchups going into Glasgow, going into Norwalk eventually, and Gotham. I think that if you can kind of spread out the responsibility and kind of formulate a game plan to kind of whittle down the opponent and then kind of strike while the iron's hot, I think you kind of need that speed to take advantage of that, kind of move around with pivoting. But it's definitely doable. I just think that there needs to be more of a focus game plan than lead Ninetales, set up an Aurora Veil, and then hope that Kiram can pick up 6 kills, or hope that Annihilate can eat 6 hits and then KO the rest of the team, or hope that Hoopa can set up a Trick Room and just pray that it's going to live every hit and kill everything with hyperspace. I think there's more hope here than there is game plan. I don't mean to sound harsh, but I think that there's just maybe a more need for direction, and I think that's kind of backed up by the results so far.
I look at this team and I would almost say if I'm going to bring my best 6, I don't think Alola Ninetales would be one of them. Like, yes, you kind of like need it for the speed, but I want to say in one of your matches, your Glasgow got punished because someone brought a Weather Ball and used the ice against you.
Long Island.
Yeah, Fortress can drop screens. Cowtown mentioned the Trick Room Hoopa. You honestly don't need Trick Room in a lot of senses, but this team would be awesome with Trick Room. If I were looking at this team, it's like, what changes would I make? Maybe having another setup sweeper that is faster. That doesn't necessarily require like a Dragon Dance like Kiram in order to outspeed key threats, or I'm sure a number of teams are going to be prepping against you, and they're bringing a Choice Scarf user that can outspeed like a +1 Kiram. 2 mons that stood out to me when I was looking at the free agency list is 15-point Blaziken, and then 11-point Hawlucha. Maybe you shift a Terra to one of them, but both of those mons have had histories in the PBO where they have done incredibly well. I certainly have not been swept by a Hoopa, but someone has. I think there's a chance to maybe move some points around. When I look at like the bottom 5 mons, I think you want to bring 1 or 2 of them every week, but you only have so many slots, and if Fortress is setting rocks and spinning or setting screens, if Rotom's setting rocks, or if Rotom's setting screens and Alola Ninetales is setting Veil, maybe there's a little bit too much redundancy there. I think you've got an opportunity to make a move, to throw another threat on the board, and don't feel a need that you need to bring Alola Ninetales every week. I know we keep talking about weather, but Gliscor in its own right is incredibly strong. It's incredibly fat. Hazards would be great again for this team. Please, everyone in the PBO, set hazards, set rocks. They're incredibly strong, and you have one of the best spin blockers in Terra Annihilate. So do with that what you will. But we believe in you. We believe in this team.
Yeah, I think there's all the potential in the world to kind of say this identity just hasn't really produced this first half of the season. Let's see if we can adjust it, and let's see if we can take this new direction, because what do you have to lose at this point? The only way to go from here is up.
And maybe we're talking differently about this team if that loss was like a 1-0 against Snowpoint.
Yes.
But I think we still be talking about this like super slow team, and that's really causing a lot of the problems for you. All right, Kowtow, I need you for the segue here with Soaring. I tried last time and Soaring didn't get it.
Hit me.
All right. What is your favorite kaiju, Kowtow?
My favorite kaiju? Ooh. I like me some Godzilla, but I can spice it up a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, not a Mothra fan?
I don't know. Not really my big forte.
Well, lucky for you, this next team is the Long Island Tyranitars, or weather kaiju, if you will. 1 and 3, just like Gotham. Oh, I'm sorry.
Wait,
I'm
yeah,
out of order.
it's,
Yeah,
I'm out of order. I'm sorry. I'm
that's
sorry.
we
not
all
good.
knew what
Yeah.
you meant, but
Yeah, I was
Cut
gonna
the tape. Cut the tape.
It's
Oh
fine.
no. Oh, Jarvis fucked up. Oh no. All right, our next team is the
Spoiler
Gotham
alert.
City
My
Golbats.
favorite
Oh,
kaiju
I'm
is the
so
bridge
sorry.
one. I like the bridge one. The bridge
All right,
one's
all
my
right.
favorite. It's the bridge
The
one.
bridge dragon is
the
my
bridge
favorite.
kaiju.
For God's sake.
Oh no.
God. Okay.
I have spoken with Gotham a little bit about their team, and they expressed, I believe this was after week 2, immense frustration, understanding that your
Yes.
week 1 and 2 matchups were like the 2 hardest teams. Like, that is where your differential is going right now. You made a whole bunch of transactions, so you're out of moves, unfortunately. But nice win against Sydney. I think when we look at how teams will fare, we look to see, what is the differential against a good team, and then what is their differential against maybe a not so good team. And having a 3-0 is pretty clear, pretty definitive. It seemed like you were in control. Adding the Terra Barraskewda and the Pelipper added a lot of identity to this team. So we like that. Rest of the schedule, doable, very doable. This team says 1-3 with a -5. That is so far within reach of playoff, it's not even funny. I think I still said that I wish that this was a Terra Superior, but you know what? It's fine. You're a rain team now. I don't remember if this was Gotham, but I want to say someone brought either like a Terra Water Moth or a Terra Water Chiyu, and that thing destroyed. So you do have like some ways to kind of get around that like potential anti-synergy between the rain and the moth. But you might just have to be creative, like don't bring Fairy Blast or something. I don't know. You can be creative with this team. It seems like you're on the upswing. Obviously, Terra Barraskewda is a demon. Excited to see what you're doing next. Next week against New York is probably going to be a tough matchup. I wouldn't be shocked if you were kind of 1-4 going into week 6, but I don't think that should. I don't think your emotional well-being should hinge on whether you win next week or not. You're really looking to keep it close. If you kind of come out with a win, you are over the moon. If you don't, rest of the schedule is entirely doable. Nothing to lose, right? Get down?
Yeah. So very hard schedule going into weeks 1, 2, and 3. Right off the bat, as we come to learn. 2 tough opponents, and then you go into Glasgow. The week 3 match, it was I believe you played well enough to win, but there were just some key mistakes, key choices, and I'm sure that you thought about these games, and I'm sure you wish that you could do some stuff differently. We've all been there. The best thing to do is learn from those mistakes, and you showed that by putting on a pretty convincing win against the Sylveons in week 4. Now you just got to build on that and continue your growth, because this 1-3 -5, believe it or not, is not the worst team. let's put that out there. It's not the worst. So this is definitely attainable to continue to grow. The remainder of the schedule is kind of meh. There's still some tough matchups to get through, but I do kind of view the week 5 New York matchup to be a little bit more favorable than most. I do think Tusk, Barra, Metagross, you have some really good matchups into what they kind of want to do week in and week out. It's just a matter of, can you put the pieces together to find that formula, to find that game plan to really drive home that nail and start your comeback for this season, because I do think it's possible. You drop some pieces like Non-Terra Boulder, Rotom Wash, Iron Jugulus, Reggie Drago, and you pick up some really key pieces. Obviously, this is now kind of fitted to be a rain team, which I'm really excited to see what you can do with it, because so far, you've actually performed pretty well with it. I will give you kudos. You performed pretty well with this rain team. All things considered, just a few mistakes. That's going to happen. Picking up a new team, not going to know, okay, this is the right thing to do in this scenario. Nobody knows the right thing to do unless it's blatantly obvious. So there's always room to learn. And I think there's you've been able to take week 3 going into week 4 to pick up that first win, and I think that this is the first step to knocking down those dominoes. Hopefully we'll be able to see more from Skuda. Tusk is kind of that check all. You have to account for this mon. Even on rain teams, it works pretty well, providing that hazard support, being able to set and remove rocks, allowing Pelipper to have an easier matchup going into rock spam teams, allowed to run damp rock sometimes even. So that's some things that I like about it. Hopefully we'll get to see more from this on the good side, but only time will tell how this the rest of the season will go. But I do have some optimism for it.
Yeah, well, if you're just watching this, Gotham, and you're just skipping to your section and then you're going to move on, go watch the New York section. We're going to talk a little bit more about your matchup there next week. There are a lot of areas that I think you threaten uniquely into New York's team that could let you pull out like a really convincing win. Again, nothing to lose. If you're 2-3 going into week 6, I think you are over the moon. If you're 1-4, kind of still very doable. It's a very doable part of the schedule. This is just a really tough opponent coming up, and you're looking to kind of make strides kind of from this point forward. All right, Soaring. Do we want to try this again?
T-Tar.
All right, we're going Long Island T-Tars.
My favorite kaiju.
My favorite kaiju. Similar records of the last few teams, similar differential. I think the way that we would just, if we were going to group these into tiers like we did at the beginning, we would probably have like Sydney and like maybe Glasgow, but probably just Sydney at the bottom. And now we're in this like gooey middle where literally almost any of these teams could trade places. A lot of them are like one roll or like one accidental thing away from being like 2-2 with like a pretty solid differential. So when I look at this team, the one thing that I think of, and Long Island, you are going to hate me for this, it was the Terra Normal Deancey into the reverse sweep from the Orgerpon Hearthflame against the Carvanha Dealership in week 2. Oh my god, that was brutal. But like, if it was a Terra Fairy Deancey, if it had like Draining Kit, there are all kinds of things. I think this is one of those teams where maybe that win would have changed if there was kind of one slightly different role, or if there was like one move set switched. For a lot of the teams like in this GUI center, it's always like, okay, if they just had this, or if they could have just done this one thing, then they would have a completely different record. Maybe we're talking about them differently. Rest of the schedule, it's kind of a mixed bag. Erie, undefeated up to this point. The rest of the teams kind of fitting in that GUI center. Obviously, you're all out of transactions, so we can't really look to how do we improve this roster. I quite frankly like the roster. There's some things that I think are a little soft, like the Shaman Bramblegast. But there's a lot you can do. I think you started to test out the Terra Deancey in week 2. I'd love to see that more. I think that thing's really strong once you start getting boosts up. I'm a huge fan of playing around your fairy types, and I kind of like hazards. I don't think that's something that Mons do enough in this league. I don't know. I think this is a team that could do a lot of different things, like that I haven't seen you do yet so far. Like, okay, Heatran rocks into Terra Ghost Calm Mind Deancey with Draining Kiss. Like, there are a lot of techs that you could throw onto this team that I haven't seen yet. And I'm really excited to see kind of how you use it going forward.
Gotcha. So here's where I'm at with this team. We're starting to, when we were going through these teams, this is a very well constructed team. I think some of the main points that we had was your removal was kind of limited to Toadscroll, if I remember correctly, and you kind of replace that with Brambleghast, which I feel like is more of a lateral move, but we'll see what happens with that. Brambleghast has yet to come to a game. We've previously stated our opinions on Brambleghast, but in the long term, I do think that this second half of the season is going to be more opportunistic than the first half. Obviously, the the KFC incident of 1996 happened week 1. We go into week 2 losing to the reverse sweep and the Orgerpon, and then we get to a really good win against Pittsburgh. That's what you have to hold on. You know that this team can work because of that. That's kind of the selling point on the rest of this season. You go into Adelaide. It's going to be tough to prepare for that team no matter what. I'm starting to be double weather pilled. Don't quote me on this, but having to prepare for 2 weathers. You had the pieces to kind of to contend with it, but it proved to be a little too much, and your week 4 kind of got lost in the mud a little bit. Going into week 5, it's going to be a more evens matchup, I believe, going into kind of a team that's on the similar power level, I believe. We'll see who can utilize their pieces and put their pieces into higher positions to kind of regain their mojo, their moxie, because both of you guys are going to be coming off of tough losses. So we'll see who can bring that back and turn it around into a positive going into week 5, and then 6, 7, and 8. I think once you get past the former half of your remaining schedule, the latter half can prove to be a little bit more on the bright side. So we'll see if you can kind of take this and ride with it, but it will ultimately depend on. I believe the Gren and the Dancy are going to make or break the rest of this season, depending on how well those are utilized. Because you have the pieces around it to support it pretty well, but the key win cons in this team's case, we'll have to see how well those are utilized.
Yeah, I'm staring at that Erie matchup in week 6, and it's just brutal, based on how Erie has played so far. When we were talking about Gotham, I said next week isn't your make or break because the last 3 weeks look, very doable, very favorable, easy to come out with a 4-4. I would actually go so far to say that this matchup against Lyrics might be a must win for you. Maybe kind of a similar line of keep it simple, stupid, right? Choice scarf that Urshifu. Maybe throw an assault vest onto the Raging Bolt. There are some interesting techs that you could do, like a Tailwind Brambleghast might hit really strong into some of these teams. But you're looking to play a solid game. Mock if you can. Kind of once again what I said earlier. If you're looking for kind of help, reach out either to me or you can put it in prep help. I think we're getting to the point of the season where people are getting a little bit fatigued. We've had some drops across the divisions, but there are a lot of people who are still really motivated and want to kind of help out. I know that Orange has been helping you out for the past week or so, I believe.
What?
Yeah, insider knowledge. This is the Orange team.
Yeah, Scary Face Raging Bolt didn't give it away.
Yeah.
Scary Face Raging Bolt didn't give it away.
Listen. It would have worked if it weren't for those meddling kids. Okay.
It was gonna be cool. It was gonna be cool. I'll give it that.
You get cool points from us. That's the penultimate thing. Who cares about win loss? You get cool points from us.
And depending on how you feel about Orange, that could go up or down even more.
That's right. All right, so this is the Crystal Ball run, and if you haven't seen the map yet, right now all of our contenders are on their way to or in Orberg City. Week 6 is actually located in the hometown of this team. This is the Snowpoint City Snowvers. Did I get that
That's
right?
correct.
I keep wanting to say Snowpoint City Titans for some reason. But it's the Snowpoint
Not
City
the first
Snowvers.
time we've gotten a team wrong this sim.
No, not at all.
We got it up.
So week 6 is a home matchup for you. Soaring, what do teams get for playing at home? +1 differential?
Yeah,
a trophy?
We can't see your play art.
We can work on that. I think we can do something with that in season 10. We have an automatic +1 diff for home field advantage.
Yeah, permanent tailwind for the home team.
Up against Icirrus City, which is very funny.
No. Week 6. Week 6 is a home matchup.
Oh, Gotham City and Snowpoint?
Yeah. Because it's in Snowpoint City on my map.
Oh, yes.
That's the home matchup.
Oh, yeah, we can Snowpoint just DM me, man. We can talk.
All right, Permanent Tailwind and Magma Storm on the other side. What'd you call? This is kind of like a King L5 team. I think you ran this recently with the Terra Keldeo and the Zapdos. I think Kowtow and I love this team. Petron is just a demon. Your only real significant loss, I'll say, is to Kowtow, which fair play. Probably would have liked to see a stronger win against Pittsburgh. Rest of the schedule is very doable. I think the power of your team and the way that you've been playing it really throws you into kind of at par with the rest of the league. I'm trying to remember how many hazards you've set with a fat Garchomp set. I want to say most of the sets have not been hazard stack. Lean into that shit. You have, again, set hazards, people. You've got Petron, you've got Zapdos. You have a strong pivot in the Cyclozar. You can play a longer game. Right now it kind of looks a little bit like it's like a nerf or nothing Keldeo game plan. But this team has the versatility to kind of play fast, play slow. I know Don had that 6-0 with the lead, or not a 6-0, I think it was a 4-0 or a 5-0 against Syracuse with the lead Mew setup. You could go either way. I think you could play fatter, play more standard, play around the Petch spin block, or you could play a little bit more aggressively. I really don't look at this team and think, okay, you need to make this change. I think you already have your 6 strongest Mons. If anything, I'm looking at, you haven't brought the Umbreon, you haven't brought the Ludicolo. Could you swap them out for something that you would want to bring? Maybe looking at one of your matchups down the line, maybe against New York or Carvanha, and saying, okay, is there a Mon? Is there a check that I could really use for this matchup? But otherwise, I think this team is great. I think you're on your way.
Yeah, I think going into the second half of the season, I want to give you a secret. I want to let you in on a little secret here. So going into the Pittsburgh matchup, we saw no Garchomp. Garchomp came weeks 1 and 2. It was absent weeks 3 and 4. Bring that thing. Even if you see 6 ice types on this team, even if you see 6 ice types that can kill this thing in one shot, bring it. Because even if you stare down a Weavile that's going to ice shard you right in the face, that's something that you can bait in ice moves and get it into a better position with your Entei or your Tinkaton and provide you an opportunity to set up rocks. Or you have a Mew that can basically do anything. You have a Keldeo that can take those water moves and then revenge kill literally anything that wants to do it, because it's a busted Pokemon. You have all the pieces that you need to bring Garchomp every week and basically neuter any kind of weaknesses that it might want to face, and you can literally do anything with this guy. The fact that it's come to only 2 games is it brings a tear to my eye. I'm not trying to be harsh, but I think if you want to bring the most value out of this team, Garchomp provides enough offensive pressure to relieve the load off of Keldeo. Because without that, I think Entei can be a fun spice to bring week in and week out, but I think Garchomp brings that consistent, reliable offensive pressure with not just the offensive sets, but the spike stacking, the stealth rock usage, Dragon Tail to reduce any kind of threats that might want to do like Combine or bulk up, all that kind of shenanigan stuff. You can run that, but I think the offensive pressure that it does put on your opponents without having to say, my team is super fairy weak, or my team is super fairy weak, my team is super steel ice weak, because it's not. You have all these good pieces. Umbreon is basically a check to ice, just on how fat it is on the special side. You have these pieces that you can kind of utilize it, and going into your weeks with you're going into Icirrus City next week, and then your home matchup against Gotham. We'll see what we can do with those, but going into New York, bring that Garchomp, make them choose. Do I click the ice move, the obvious ice move, or do I maybe make a risky play and try and predict make them think, because that's how you get them on the back foot. So I think that being able to bring some chomp should be able to produce some results. But going into the rest of the season, I think there's opportunity to kind of bounce back. But this team, we've already said that this is pretty solid on the overall level. I would really like to use this team. Shout out to last video, but I really have a good amount of optimism going in, and I think that this is still very much a playoff team.
I'm guessing, and I'd have to go back and look at the matches, but I'm guessing that you brought Garchomp to 2 games and you brought Cyclizar to 2 games, maybe because you wanted spin. But you were like, okay, I've got a dragon. They're both weak to ice. They're both weak to fairy. I don't want to bring both of them. I think that's definitely the case in some matchups, but in others, I think you absolutely can bring both of them. Week 7 against New York, you're going against a Baxcalibur, so maybe don't bring both of them there. But you absolutely, like, you could use that to bait in the Baxcalibur, and maybe it's like a choice specs Draco Meteor Cyclizar, or it's like an eject button. If they have to go for like a mid-ground Earthquake, you bring in like Air Balloon Tinkaton. There are a ton of options. I almost look at this team and I'm like, okay, Lavs has like drafted this team and put it together with the idea that there's always going to be coverage for something. You can build teams that have like multiple of like one typing and they're like overloaded on Dragon. Or they're like, okay, let's Terrafire the Mew and we'll also bring Entei and we'll overload in the fire. And that's going to help like open up for the Keldeo or something like that. I think you shouldn't worry so much of like, okay, how does my type chart look? And I'm not necessarily saying that that's what you're doing, but that's just kind of what it looks like from my perspective. A little bit of a combo of keep it simple, stupid, and let's get weird.
A little bit of everything there.
A little bit of everything. We had a ton of trouble with this next team because they are 1-3, and they are like one roll or like one missing move on a Mon away from being 4-0. This is the Norwalk Noiverns. We love this team. We hated this team at the beginning, but we really like how you've been playing it. Really close losses to Aiden and to Erie. That 3-0 against Lyrics was maybe not so much, and I think that kind of showed a little bit the weakness of this roster. Like, there are still things that we look at this, but like, okay, is the Lycanroc great? It has a little bit of like a 6-mon syndrome where you want to bring like more than 6 of these guys. You want to bring 7 or 8. You could use with like a little roll compression. I think this team is a prime candidate to make a move. Dragonite is like the best mon on board in free agency right now. Maybe not like the best choice for this team because it would stack the flying weakness and the ice weakness for the Lando and the Enam. But kind of there are totally moves that you can make to bring this roster to like the next level. I think you're steering it pretty well. Again, like I keep saying this, like stack your hazards, people. When we look at Quillfish, when we look at Chestnut, fantastic spike setters. You don't really want to be bringing. I think Lando gets rocks, but you don't want to be bringing rocks with Lando, and even like Lycanroc, you want it to be like a revenge killer with like a life orb or like a choice band. Play around like the Dirge, maybe not necessarily as like a win condition, but as like a spin blocker. Not necessarily as like a defensive mon, but as something that can kind of facilitate you getting that chip to be able to push through with the Enam, with the Lando. I was not a Hisui Gudra believer before watching you steer it. That mon has been awesome for you. I really like the low kicks. Again, if you just had like Leech Life in, I believe it was against Erie with the Aloma Mola, maybe that's a different outcome. If the agility on Enam almost won you the matchup against Icirrus City. If you had like a spike down, does that change the role? I don't know. I think this team has come close and could very, very easily be 4-0. Not the easiest schedule on the back half, but I would like to see kind of a move or two just to make things easier for your breakers here.
Yeah, I'll throw in some stuff on here. So I think looking back to preseason, I think this is probably the team that. Would you agree that we probably got flamed a little bit for placing this team a little lower than what it should have been?
Oh, we got, hold on. The video went out We dogged on this team, and then you 2-0'd. And we were like, crap, oh no, pull the video. We need to re-record. Feel a little bit
It
more
was like the
justified
same
now,
day, wasn't
but
it?
You're great. Yeah, you're a great player.
Yeah, so we know what you're capable of. Judging the team based on what it is, that's the whole thing about preseason. We say this is what the team looks. This is what the potential of this team is. Let's see what it can do. Here's what the potential is. We thought that there's a lot of teams that had a lot of potential. We just don't know. There's a lot of unknowns to it. Now we have some more information. The information is you're 1-3, but this has been maybe one of the tougher schedules in all of Crystal. I think we could both agree on that. This is probably one of the toughest schedules that we've seen, at least in the first half.
Tougher. I think who was it that we passed that had 2 of the top 3, and then they've got New York Nickits later on. I think that's the toughest schedule.
Gotham?
I think it was Gotham, but this is up there.
Yeah. So
we'll put together a strength of schedule stat, and we'll be able to show it visually. But this has not been an easy ride, and you're scrapping it out.
Yeah, you've had a really tough schedule, and I think you've really you've held your own. You were one low kicks set away from winning at least 2 of these games. I think that's a lot. The fact that we put you over a 2-2 team, I think you've proved enough to kind of put yourself in this position where you're kind of towards the top of the middle. You're kind of towards that upper echelon of bubble teams. We know the team at this point. There's been no changes made. We know that Landorus is a threat. We know that Bundle's fast. We know that Enamorus is a good Pokemon. We know that Lokix has no resistances. And we know that Sylveons is fast. We know that Regileki's fast. We know all these things. We just got to see the results. And so far, the results haven't been there. But
it's been scrappy.
Your performance has been good. We just haven't seen the actual win-loss reflected. So hopefully the second half we'll be able to kind of you'll be able to see the fruits of your labor. Going into week 5 and 6, your schedule doesn't really get any easier. We still get some tough matchups going in, but if you can come out of those 2 weeks with 2 wins, you're kind of in a good position to be one of the strong playoff contenders. Because there's a lot of teams that we mentioned that we haven't really mentioned that have tougher schedules, and there are there's a lot of potential to kind of overtake them. So this is one of the teams where if you have like 2 good matchups, 2 good games going into week 5 and 6, you're kind of in a strong position to kind of finish out the rest of the season, finish out 5 and 3, with a really good grasp on a playoff position. Now, how do you get there? I think that we're going into week 5. Week 6 is the trade deadline. I honestly recommend that there needs to be some changes made because going into week 4, the loss to Icirrus City. We all know what happened there. Enamorus almost pulled the upset. It just came down to a roll on the Torn. That, to my understanding, it was a really tough break, but. In the first half of the game, it really wasn't necessarily that close, in my opinion. I think it came down to Ting Lu not really having any hits to hit the Enamorus, and then once you got that agility off, you kind of flipped this game on its head. You went from really down in a really bad spot all the way to being in a position where it came down to a roll to win. We've seen that with teams that we've put up this far. At this point, I think there needs to be some team changes. Coalfish has not been brought to a game. I think it could be brought to a game, but I think that there can be some better roll compression. Lycanroc hasn't really done what it's supposed to do. I think if you had Lycanroc, I'll call it Noon because I can't remember the name off the top of my head. Lycanroc Noon, if you had that over Dusk, you're saving points and getting effectively the same value out of it.
Yeah.
I think if you can kind of condense these into a stronger mon that can kind of offer you a little bit more either on the offensive utility or defensive side, more value, kind of condense these guys because you have, let's see, there's 11 guys. If you can condense this into 10 strong bonds, I think that there can be cause to. I think there can be a reason to consider this a really threatening team going in, because the play has been there, the results just haven't. But I think there's plenty of room to grow from this. Again, you were one low kick set away from being able to take that week 2, and basically one roll away from being able to take the week 4. So it's definitely within your grasp. We'll just have to see if you're able to kind of bounce back from that and kind of take the throttle and take this season, make it your own.
If there's a mon that jumped out to me that was available, I would drop the Terra off the low kicks and maybe the Lycanroc Dusk, maybe the Quillfish and the Chestnut, and I would go for like a Terra Blastoise. You don't have a bulky water, and Goodra is kind of fitting in that mold, but having like a Terra Blastoise, something that can threaten either as like a Rapid Spinner, Slow Pivot, so it doesn't have to be Lecky coming to every game to try to ward off hazards or having to boot stock everything. Or it can be like an offensive like Shell Smasher, and your opponent just doesn't know until you move on it. I think that would be kind of a great addition to this team. And again, like you can run like Iron Bundle and Blastoise and Enam. Like this team would benefit from having kind of like a standard bulky water slow pivot. Because right now you've got low kicks as like a fast pivot. You've got Lecky as a fast pivot. You've got Lando as a fast pivot if you bring U-turn on it. Iron Bundle as a fast pivot. You could use like a slow pivot to help you get into something like Enam Fresh. We said that we had some difficulty putting Norwalk here.
Yeah.
And
I want to touch on Norwalk for just a moment. Norwalk, for those that don't know,
Okay.
I don't. Okay. For those that don't know, I tried to play it off. Norwalk took a break after being in Stargazer in Season 6. That was the season that Norwalk was 3-5 -4. Don was 3-5 -10. Don, as we now know him, Charleston Chestnuts, Don Colbis, however, he was 3-5 -10. Norwalk 3-5 -4. Don demoted that season. So Norwalk has come back after a 3-season break in Crystal. And the team he had in Season 6, it was Valiant, Dirge, Hydrapple, Jolteon, Metagross, Claude, Ditto. So he's got some pieces. He's got instead of a Milotic, he's got a bundle, has the Dirge, has instead of Jolteon, it's a Lecky, has a Terra Lando now. He's capable of winning. He's played with the top players. He's just taking a bit of a break, so I think he can turn it around for these last 4 games. Every game I feel like he's been 1 play out of it, maybe 2 plays out of it. So I just want to, and plus Norwalk is cool. And he's also pretty. Yep. He leaves some comments saying, "Stop making threats." Also, stop making threats.
Listen. They're just power rankings. They're not that serious.
Before you go, Kaz, 2 things. One, for every one of the Mons that Soaring just mentioned, Sydney, I think you need to put a graphic on the screen every single time. So when he mentions them, every time, like, just make sure we see it just visually.
Sydney, put the Invincible logo every time that we say Norwalk.
Right. Second, thank you, Soaring, for confirming that you have favoritism for Norwalk over all of the remaining competitors.
He's come back and he's an OG, so there's a bit of favoritism.
All right, just making sure we got that clear. We had some difficulty ranking this because I think you can make an argument that Norwalk could be above our next team, the Icirrus City Infernapes. However, Icirrus City just beat Norwalk, scraped out a win by the skin of their teeth after being our preseason number 1. So it was hard for us to justify. But again, this gooey middle, every team is like so close. They're all within like spitting distance of playoffs here. Aiden has not had a great kind of first half of the season. I think we would have expected cleaner wins for the ones that they have had, and maybe closer losses than the ones that they've had, although they have been against good opponents in Adelaide and Erie. I fully expect this team to be in the playoffs, relatively easier schedule on the back half, with the exception of Kowtow here. Still like a disgusting team. I hope that the week 4 kind of win will bring forward a little bit more confidence. I've been telling in a lot of the others like keep it simple. Go with the tried and true. Set your hazards. Get a spin blocker. I would say to Aiden, kind of get a little bit weirder. Just keep attacking. I think when you have I wouldn't say like struggled the most, but kind of where things have maybe fallen apart in some of these matchups is when you've made like these weird switches. Just keep attacking, keep hitting things. You've got so much power on this roster. Gotcha.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cut and dry. It's just been compared to what we thought this team was capable of. It's underperformed at this point. I don't think anybody should sugarcoat it. I don't think anybody should be alarmed that this is kind of the place that we see it. At this point, you're 2-2 -5. That your record is what you are at this point. The team itself is. We mentioned this going into the first the preseason rankings. This is a very lopsided team. You have a very, 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 very strong 6, and then or very strong 5, I should say.
I would even say more than that. Like Azu's great, Muck's great, Carbink does its role.
Oh yes, you have a lot of good pieces.
PZ there, interesting.
PZ's there, a soaring flying favorite. Shout out. But we've seen some good teams have been able to kind of exploit some of the weaknesses that you present. Some of you rely on setup from Quack to really drive home your win condition. And some weeks it really needs the right Terra to face the right bonds. And your weeks 1 through 3, we just I don't really know if we saw it, because going into week 1, I'll just be honest, you're one gunk shot away from being 1-3, 1-3 -7. I think the fact that you pulled out the win is what it is. And week 4, you actually played week 4 really, really well. I think during the first half of the game, you really kind of put Norwalk on the back of their heels. It's just unfortunate that in the end game scenario that you ran into, the Tinglu just didn't have a move to hit the Enamorous, and then it was able to kind of just use agility once it was by itself, and it couldn't be whirlwinded out. And then the rest of your team just happened to be weak to Fairy at that point, because Muck had gone down. If Muck had not gone down, maybe you would have stood a chance if it was Earth Power. I can't remember off the top of my head if that was revealed or not, if it had Earth Power, but you had already expended your Shuka Berry on the Landorus. Muck had basically done his job at that point. But you played enough to kind of put yourself into a strong win position, but evidently it wound up being a very close win. Came down to Torn being able to live that Moonblast, and it did. So here we are, 2 wins that are +1, 2 losses. The Adelaide win, the Adelaide loss being -2. I think that was much more of a. I think the differential doesn't speak to how bad the loss actually was. I don't want to harp on this too much, but I think this team is the weaknesses have been exploited up to this point, but the future of this team going into weeks 5 through 8. Week 5 is kind of your opportunity to kind of build on your momentum going into Norwalk, going into Snowpoint. Excuse me. It's going to be a tough matchup because we've already acknowledged that Snowpoint still has a very good team. It's just going to need to improve its results. But we'll have to see what you can come up with. Going into week 6, it's going to be a little bit just based off the standing. It's going to be we'll see what happens with it, because I won't guarantee anything. Nothing's guaranteed in Pokemon, especially when a Blastoise can just freeze an Iron Valiant out of nowhere. But we'll see what happens going into the last half of the season. But this is still definitely attainable. You still have a really, really strong team with good supporting pieces, but we'll just have to see if your luck can hold up. And if you can hit those bleak wins, please just hit those bleak wins. Torn is good. Please don't disprove that. I still have a lot of faith in this team. I think it can be very good, but we just need just need that Quack and Polt to really kind of pull their weight.
Look, if you win the next 2 weeks, we'll make you versus Kowtow game of the week. Simple as that.
Maybe.
All right. Maybe. Our next team is going to be the... God, all these S teams are so confusing for me. The Scottish Stoutlands. Lyrics is... this would be our number 6 team, so we're making progress. 2-2, but the only 2 losses are to Aiden and Kowtow by 1. Pretty nice. Not the easiest schedule off rip. I still kind of enjoy this team. Kind of moves don't really jump out at me. Like, okay, there's a part of me that's like, let's make this a Terra Garganackle. I don't know if you've really maximized the Sinistra up to this point. I remember you brought it against Kowtow, and I was kind of looking at it like, what is it here for? I know a lot of people are pretty down on Darkrai, so maybe this team might be lacking a little bit of power. Could be an opportunity for you to add like another wall breaker in from free agency right now. Like Latias as your kill leader is a little weird because I think usually people think of it as like a support mon, and whereas like your hands and your Darkrai have like 2 kills between them. I don't know. I think there's opportunity here. I don't think the roster is necessarily bad, but I think even Lyrics, you'll kind of contend that it hasn't been optimized, and kind of no time like the present because your next 3 weeks are a little brutal. You have a good enough differential that I believe that this team will make playoffs relatively easily if you continue to play at the level that you're playing at. But I'd really be excited to see kind of what you do to take the next step with this team. Because I think this is like 1 or 2 pieces away from being a contender for the title.
Yeah. I'll kind of go into the future a little bit here. Going into Long Island, we'll see how this team can contend with Greninja. I think that's going to be an important part going into next week. Empoleon can do something there. I think the utilization of the top guys. You've already mentioned that there's 2 kills between Hands and Darkrai. This could be matchup related. Also, there is a mention that the week 2 did come from an FF, so the stats themselves may be a little bit skewed because of that. The max amount of games that these mons have played has been 4 weeks, so there is a little bit unknown still to this team, which kind of factored into the rankings just a little bit, but we still think that this team could be very strong. Bringing Choice Specs Laddie into my team, I want to touch on that just a second. I think that's very smart. It's indicative of Lyrics' playstyle. Lyrics is very good at exploiting your team's weaknesses and making the most out of it because he's a very good thinker about that. And going into Long Island, New York, Adelaide, those teams have weaknesses that you can't exploit. And if he can put his skills to the best of his ability, I think that this is going to be a second half of the season that can be very optimistic for him. Do I think that he's to this point proven that he's top of the top half of the Crystal Division? I don't know. The sample size is obviously smaller than what we've seen from other teams, but I do think that the player himself is able to push this team over the edge, but we just have to see it firsthand because the results themselves, we just don't have really enough to kind of put it out there at this moment. But it's close losses to good teams. That's kind of what's keeping you afloat because the Norwalk win was actually pretty good. Norwalk's been able to keep games pretty close for a long time, but you're able to kind of grind them to a screeching halt. I think the 3-0 was pretty good and kind of puts you in a good direction going into the rest of the season. We'll see how you can contend with some of the other top teams going into week 6 and 7. I know that there's a creative mind behind this team, and there's going to be some interesting sets brought, and it's going to be fun to watch going in. I think we're going to see a lot of good games coming out from this team. The real question is this team going to maintain the consistent good play that we've seen going into the latter half of the schedule and be able to keep up their performance without running out of gas from the any kind of power level difference?
I'd be excited to see like something like an Agile, Life Orb, Empoleon set with this team. Like Darkrai can be like a setup sweeper. I think you set up the Latias at one point with like a weakness policy, Agile. But otherwise, I think it's kind of hard to set up a Cinderace. Iron Hands isn't very fast. I think Empoleon could be a surprise candidate late in the season as like a setup sweeper, kind of in the same vein as Fezandipiti. Our next team is going to be the Carvanha Dealership, who was one of my favorite teams at the beginning. Is no longer such after the free agency moves that they've made. However, they have now become beloved in Soaring's heart because they have the Terra Regidrago. So you lose Jarvis, but you pick up Soaring. I think that's a pretty good trade.
I think that's a win.
Yeah, that's a win.
Shake on it.
I think your differential is a little bit bailed out here by the Orgerpon 6 kills. We talked about that. No. Well, the 6 kills and the reverse win against Long Island. Soaring's blacked out on that game. But anyway, I think if that were like a 4-0 loss, this would be like hitting the panic button, which I think is kind of what you did with your transactions. I don't know what the plan was with the Explosion Regidrago and the New York Nickits matchup. But I think this team has been what we said it would be at the beginning. It is a difficult to steer roster with a lot of like hard hitters that is very difficult to prep for. I would say latter half of the schedule is about as difficult as the first half, and so if history repeats, then maybe we're looking at 4-4. But I would also say that I don't know if you're like a little bit lucky here. I don't know. I'm a little surprised to have seen the Thwacky as much as we have. Now we have the Manaphy. I think there's an opportunity for like a Screens Tail Glow set, or bringing the Araquanid. It's only come to one game. I think this is another one of those teams where I almost don't know where to go. Like, keep it simple with like the mons that or with the sets that you bring, but let's get weird about the 6 that you're bringing to the matchup. I don't think Thwacky should have come to 2 games at this point. You have such strong candidates to come any kind of one of these weeks. I'd like to see more from like the Bloodmoon, for example, or more from like the Glamora. Again, like hazards are just not something that we're seeing a ton right now from a lot of teams in the PBO. And you have one of the best hazard setters. You've got one of the best monos to take advantage of like Chip Now and Terrahisui Arcanine. I would really love to see kind of like a 5 or a 6-0 kind of here in this latter half.
Yeah, the interesting thing that I've seen with this team so far has been just how pronounced the Orgerpon has been compared to what you might have seen from something like Dragonite or King Gambit early on in weeks 1 and 2. Like the Bloodmoon. The Bloodmoon's put in the sensible work that we've seen so far. However, I think there's still so much potential with this team because there's so many pieces that kind of I think I said this before during the preseasons, but there's so many random pieces that kind of just work for me, and I think that there's all of that is still here even with the changes that were made. I just think that the utilization of your pickups, Arcanine, very good. I love Hisuian Arcanine in this generation. I think there's so many things that you can do with it, even just on one side of the attack spectrum. And I think you showcase that, especially if I remember correctly in your Adelaide win. I think that was showcased very well. No, actually, that was the New York. I was thinking of a different thing, but I think Arcanine has all the potential in the world with this team because I think there's plenty of pieces to support it. However, I'm disappointed in the usage of Draco. I'm not a Drago hater by any means, but especially going into your New York Nickits matchup, I think even if it was brought in the substitution of something like I don't remember if the Spidops was brought, the Araquanid, excuse me. I think all it clicked was Explosion in your New York Nickits loss week 4. And I think that value that you could have brought something that brought a little bit more value, and that game could have swung your way, and you would have been 3-1 at this point, and probably towards the upper echelon of the Crystal Division power rankings. I think that's a very realistic thing that could have happened, but I don't know if there's too many cooks in the kitchen or something had happened. Is just not enough time, but I really wish that this team just had more results, because it's just so fun to look at and speculate what this team can do, because you almost just can't really prep for everything all at once. There's too many things to cover. There's plenty of screen setters. There's plenty of opportunities to set hazards. Not many chances to block them unless you run something like Ghost Drago, which kind of good, but the results speak for themselves for your first half. I think your week 4 loss could have been a different result, but it is what it is at this point. Your week 1 loss to a lesser opponent, just based on these rankings, I think that's a tough one, but you built on that with weeks 2 and 3. Going into the rest of your season, going into Norwalk, that's going to be a tough matchup, but I believe that this team can go toe-to-toe with it. Glasgow is going to be an interesting matchup, and then you get into some heavy hitters matchup-wise with Erie and Snowpoint. So I think this is going to be one of the tougher schedules going into the rest of the season, but I think the team can do it. I just need to see if the Carvanha Dealership can actually pull through and build the team that they need to capitalize and take those victories, because the pieces are here. We've mentioned that early on of this season. We're very high on this team, but we just need to see the action being taken.
And that culminates our gooey middle. Now we're going into our top 4 kind of definitively, and you can see that in the on the leaderboard. These are our top 4 teams. Starting off with number 4, we have the Adelaide 30 Scizors. All the transactions are gone. You are now a dual weather team who have, quite frankly, been demolishing teams up until, excluding that Carvanha Dealership loss in week 3. I didn't know kind of what to expect from you going in, and I think you've certainly proven to be an incredibly skilled player. We were discussing what would be the match of the week for week 5, and I think on paper, you versus Erie, week 5 is going to be probably like the best game. Probably doesn't tell us a ton, because I think whoever wins or loses, you're both going to be considered kind of in that top 4, that top echelon, contending for the title at the end. But could be like a real definitive win for you. Pretty difficult end of schedule, but you're 3-1 plus 8. Not really a ton to worry about in terms of like making playoffs, for example. Just a ton of good pieces, and you've like shown that you're like willing to bring like a lot of versatility. I think this team is great. If there's anything for me to call out, it's like, do you really need like 11 Mons? Are you going to bring like the slacking? So it might be an opportunity to maybe consolidate some of those. Did I say that you're out of? You're out of transactions. Yep. Out of points. My bad. Yeah, I don't have much else to say. Catch up.
Yeah. I think one thing that has been pretty impressive so far this season, when you did the pivot, week 1, when you did the pivot into dual weather, I think everybody can basically say that they were like, what is happening? We've never really seen any success from kind of the weather dominant teams up until recently, and we've certainly not seen dual weather dominance. But here we are, week 4 going into week 5, and this team has proven that even though we kind of all know that prepping for 2 weather teams is kind of a pain to deal with, but we haven't really seen anybody pull it off to this point. This team has pulled it off. This team has been very convincing in their wins. Going into week 1, you smash probably. You basically crushed the Sydney Sylveons. Going from where we had you in the preseason rankings, we just weren't really believers in what the team structure was compared to the rest of the division. But you kind of you really set the whole division on alert by your play. And going into week 2, that's when you really cemented yourself as one of the top teams. Because we really had a vision of Icirrus City kind of being in the contention for top team in the weeks to come. But you really kind of put the kibosh on that by just slapping them around. There were some interesting choices towards the end of that game. Kind of some switches that were kind of unnecessary, and it kind of led to a closer game than really what was on paper. But in many's point of view, that was a very decisive win. It was very decisive. Then you go into week 3. There's a little bit of a hiccup there. The Carvanha Dealership, we've already said it's kind of it's more on the unpredictable side. Whether or not they will be kind of a threat or not, which we believe they will be a threat, but who knows at this point. And then you kind of bounce back with your win against the Tyranitars. Your week 5, going into what we'll see going forward, I think this is probably going to be one of my most anticipated matchups, because if you can take this win against the Long Island Tyranitars and move into a win again into week 5, this might be you might be pushing the envelope for dual weather. I don't know. We'll see. It's very interesting to see a team that's structured this way, with pieces like this, that's kind of split in two, but it just you have pieces on both sides of the envelope that kind of complement each other. And you can kind of mold this week in and week out idea of, okay, do I bring sun or do I bring sand, and kind of just abuse one or the other, depending on your matchup. Or you can just say, screw it, and I'm just going to bring whatever the frick I want. And you just completely mess up your opponent's mojo. There's so many ways that you can just kind of counter prep, go into weeks with different mons that you have an idea on. This is what I'm going to win with. Your Latios being kind of a key piece in all of this, even though it may not be like a fantastic mon in this metagame. I think in this team structure, it kind of works pretty well, because it offers the key resistances that you want, and you have Pokemon to complement it, and it can basically work about as well as it can. So I really have anticipation for the remainder of this schedule. I think that you can basically win any of these last 4 games. You can go undefeated for the rest of the season. I think that's very well possible, and I think you're very much in the contention for riding towards the end of the season, towards reaching the mountaintop. And I think that this is probably one of the scarier teams to go up against if your name is Erie, Norwalk, Stoutlands, or Nickits.
Yeah, I think just speaking specifically about Erie, Erie's stopped a lot of people with like their Alamamola, and have just grinded out wins against teams that struggle to break them. This is one of those teams that I think is actually uniquely well suited to pressure that. I think if you bring like Sun, for example, the Venusaur is just going to be awesome into that team. So again, should be a fantastic matchup. Our third team from the top, again, kind of all within the same tier. Our first of the 3 undefeated teams is going to be the New York Nickits. Technically, this is the middle team based on differential, but we decided, just based on kind of maybe had the easiest schedule up to this point, but obviously very definitive wins. But we put New York third of the undefeated teams. We said at the beginning that the Glow King Corv defensive core was going to be incredible, and they have been incredible. We said that you could do a lot of interesting things with things like Sylveon and Ceruledge. The choice spec Sylveon sticks out in my mind. I almost look at, again, just the matches that you've played and the opponents that you've played, and you've really like picked them apart. Carvanha Dealership, again, is kind of one of those wild cards, but being able to pull out a 2-0 win is solid. Even like the latter half of the schedule, it's a lot of gooey middle teams. I wouldn't be shocked if you come out 2-2, 3-1. If you come out 4-0, I think that puts the entire league on watch, and kind of everyone's going to be looking at you as the top dog going into playoffs. I really don't have kind of notes like what you could change, what you could add. Do you need the Jolteon? You could drop the Jolteon and the Terra and maybe combine it with like the Arboliva for something on the board if you want. But just in terms of roster construction, I'm not great at my first draft of building rosters. This is fantastic. This is probably better than anything I could build if I tried.
Yeah, so we get into the Glow King Backs team that we haven't seen Backs yet. Yeah. And this team is 4-0 plus 14.
Right.
So some of the strongest, like the core aspects of this team we haven't even seen. It's been very impressive up to this point. The only thing that you could call like maybe you can blink at is the Carvanha game, even though that's what we call like maybe an upper half team. It is an upper half team. It kind of skated by. It came down to some decisions from the other side that really ultimately led to you taking advantage, and you capitalized. You did your job. You did your job. Week 4, week 1, 2, 3, picked apart your opponents. You used all your mons as they should be, and you performed as you should. We expected this team to be pretty good going into the season, and you've delivered. In fact, one over-deliverer, one overachiever. Who would have expected a 6-0 Glow King going into week 4? Nobody would have expected that to be in the top 5 of the kill leaderboards going into halfway through the season. So kudos to you for making that happen. Maybe goes into a little bit of how the team has been playing with not having backs being quite as impactful. Maybe it's gone into some matchup certainties, but the rest of the schedule, Jarvis mentioned that it is going to be kind of a mixed bag. I think the Gotham City should be a matchup that should give you some concern, but I don't think that this is anything to fret over. I think that this is still a very winnable game, but we're going to see some games that are going to start to kind of test the limits of this team. We're going to have to see the backs come through. The backs is going to have to pull its weight. Sylveon's going to have to continue to shine, and I think Glow King, we're going to have to see if it's kind of going to revert to its normal Glow King stuff, where it's just taking hits and then allowing everybody else to get the kills rather than doing all the work itself. Shout out Thanos, but yeah, your Gyapdos has been putting in all the work it needs to. Arbo has yet to come to a game. Some people would not be surprised with that. I think when the time is right, Arbo is a very good Pokemon that can do very niche things that will allow you to capitalize on opponents' mismatches. But that's pretty much, there's not really much more to say. The only Pokemon that's on your team that's really got a bad differential is Corviknight, which isn't really expected for the role that it has to do. So yeah, there's some shocking things on this team that really they're shocking in a good way, and you've been able to support all your key pieces to really propel yourself into a strong position going into the rest of the season.
Yeah, I almost expect the Arboliva to come to this matchup against Gotham City. Now they've transitioned to a rain team, something like Seed Sour Arboliva to like set the terrain to open up like an SD Grassy Glide Orgerpon. That would be sick. Yeah, I love how you've been steering this. Just kind of want to see more before we proclaim you as the favorite going into playoffs. Our number 2 team is the Columbus Conkeldurrs, a resident cow terrific. God, I hate this Palafin Hydrapple combo. I'm playing them this week in Sunset. We saw for the first time in week 4 a new Fenzandipiti set. I don't know if that is what led to the only the 1-0 victory. Maybe if we stayed with the Agile Nasty Plot Terra, that was the key. But all jokes aside, this team has been rolling. I think largely on the strength of that Fenzandipiti and then the Palafin. This team is hard to prep for. I did mocks with it at the beginning of the season, and I was not winning. Back half of the schedule looks pretty easy or reasonable. I think those last 2 weeks are definitely harder than the first 2 coming up for Kowtow. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't get the Tatsugiri coming to Lyrics matchup. Maybe getting a little bit cute versus like I don't know. Could have brought like spikes on Overquill or like a taunt or an encore Orgerpon, but whatever. Yeah, you can steer your team how you want. This is firmly a top 2 or a top 3 team. No, I'm not talking to you, Siri. Any kind of words? How's your confidence feeling right now, Kowtow?
I think confidence is good. We got some. We got through in hindsight, it was a bit of an easier first half of the schedule. I think Snowpoint. I anticipated Snowpoint being one of the tougher matchups for me, and it turned out to be a little bit more of a roll than I anticipated, and that felt good going into week 4. Week 4, I know I've had experience with Lyrics. I know how he plays, so there was anticipation for some weird sets. We got some weird sets, and we just had to kind of grind through it. It was tough trying to deal with the Choice Specs Latios. That was a good set. I originally thought about Spit F Overquill, but ultimately didn't bring it for the threat of it being too passive against something like a setup in Polion. But ultimately, there wasn't anything of the such. Going into the remaining set of schedule here, I do anticipate some challenges going forward, but I do think with the leads that I brought, I think I still have yet to tap into the true potential of this team. There's obviously mons that haven't really gotten as much of a spotlight as some of the top guys. Looking at you, Palafin and Fenzandipiti, I've kind of used you guys a little bit, a lot, but I do have anticipation to see what my opponents bring. I really want some good games. It was really fun going into week 4, pulling out that kind of victory towards the end, being able to do what we did. So really excited to look forward to the end of this to the end of the season. I have a lot of optimism, and hopefully this is the one for me. But we'll give respect to the opponents. There's going to be some tough battles coming ahead.
Yeah, I think Palafin and Terra Hydrapple give you like a really high floor just in terms of like roster construction. I'll even throw Iron Treads in there. I would agree this team is relatively untested. I think someone who is like a bit of a wild card like Carvanha or even Adelaide might apply like a different kind of pressure than what Kowtow will have seen in the regular season. So I'm hopeful that someone can kind of take a win off Kowtow. We don't like to see undefeated teams going into playoffs. We like to see teams that are tried and tested.
It's cursed too. It's cursed.
And the curse. Our number 1 team is the Erie Oshawotts. Everyone has kind of been looking at Klecker and be like, wow, that is a good player. I think we said at the beginning. I said that I was an Alomomola fan. I think I look a lot better for that take now than I did 4 weeks ago. I think playing against teams that were either weaker or looking for their identity, they really struggled to break this Lando, Terrapagos, Alomomola, Uxie grouping. And fair play. This team has been steered incredibly well. Would probably like to see more from a few more of these mons. I think there's some interesting, Comfey sets that you can run. We haven't seen like too much of the Ogre Cornerstone. But I think this is the hardest back half of the schedule of anyone in Crystal Division. Probably to make up for what might have been considered like a softer front four. So I will see where Erie is in 4 weeks. This team could come out as 4-4. This team could come out as 8-0, 7-1. I'd probably expect somewhere in the middle. But so far, Erie has been absolutely dominant.
Yeah, I think they've been able to do what they needed to do against opponents that they have matched up with. We've pretty much they've handled their business up to this point. Going +5 through weeks 1 and 2, and then putting some pretty decisive 5-0 victories in 3 and 4 has really catapulted them into this top team discussion. They're definitely in contention for these playoff teams. We're very we have a very clear vision of who's kind of in that mix, and this team is definitely in it. I do think that this has been a little bit of the softer side of the schedule. It's not really that much of a knock because you've been able to handle business as well as you have. So the what we need to see is how the rest of the schedule goes, because I do think that this is going to be a bit tougher. But prove the player that you are. Use the pieces that you use. Pagos and Moon is a good combo. See what we can do with this Landorus theory and prove that Aloe isn't fake, and then get as much value as you can out of this 20-point Rapid Strike. I really like a lot of these pieces. I love Orgerpon Cornerstone. I think that's an awesome mon. And then Yuxi kind of puts this glue together that just kind of seals everything together. And then Comfey is Comfey. You have weeks where it's good, weeks where it's not, and that's okay. And you've kind of proved that with the way that you've kind of brought it and its main appearances. So
Hey, 4 kills, 0 death, Alomomola. Just saying.
Just saying. It's keep fighting the good fight.
Keep flip turning.
More flip turning the good flip. So, yeah, a lot of good things to see about this team, and we'll see if they can continue knocking down those dominoes as the season goes on. Continuing on, they're a pretty good start.
Even like the bottom 4, you could like trade in 2 of these mons for something stronger. I don't even think that this team is at its peak. Again, the latter half of the season will tell us more, but very impressed. All right, Soaring. Do we have a final question?
From me?
Is a mid-season one?
From me?
Well, I remember you asked us to make championship predictions at the end of the first power ranking. Do we have a traditional?
There's not really a traditional thing for the middle of the season, but what I can say is I want to shout out Crystal, getting the matches played, and past Sydney and kind of Glasgow. It really is, as Zarf has been saying, anyone's game. When you look in a division standings and you see that 7 and 8 seed are negative, you go, it's competitive. I understand this. And Long Island is 11th at 1-3, -6. Pittsburgh 1-3, -8. Shouts out Pittsburgh. It's anyone's. I mean, Jarv next. Excuse me, not Jarv. I was looking at Carvanha. Thought Jarv. Walt 2-2 +2. They could get 6-0, and all of a sudden 2-3 -4. It's really volatile right now.
Yeah, you guys have been
don't give up.
Professional amateurs.
This is what's
you guys
expected.
Handle your business.
No, I think that's a good way to put it, because this is a brand new div, and when you add a lot of new people who we don't know much about, and you have the promos and the demotions, it's really tough to see where everybody kind of feels out. It took Sunset 2 seasons to really, I think the 3rd season of Sunset is when the Thunderdome kind of took when it took shape. And the 2nd season was like, ooh, okay, Sunset's gonna be competitive. Crystal's gonna be your new Sunset for a season or 2. And in mod chat, we have recognized Klecker, pretty good. Caleb coming down from Sunset, and that was top of Crystal. Okay. Kowtow, Playoff and Neon is 3rd Adelaide, we didn't know what to expect. Lyrics, we knew what to expect. We knew it'd be tougher. And then Walt, Lavs, brand new. Icirrus City, a bit short, but still top 8. And Norwalk coming back, checking off the rust. And then Gotham City through Glasgow. It's still, they can still, it's one win away. And Sydney just, maybe you can go 4-4, and you need a lot of luck. But I don't know what'll happen.
Ruin people's seasons, Sydney.
Yeah, you can play spoiler.
You can play spoiler. You can be funny.
No, you could be really funny. You can. There's 2 options: try hard and try and come back, or be really funny and try and
try hard and be hard.
Take a game off someone.
Last thing from me. Shout out to Gotham, Adelaide, Icirrus City, and Norwalk for doing the pick'ems every week.
Yeah,
right now,
Troopers.
Aiden is number 1, Adelaide is 2, and Norwalk is 3 in the pick'ems for Crystal Division.
Through all weeks.
Yeah.
Crystal on top.
Crystal on top. Crystal best div. Brand new logo. Ton of new players. Y'all can really define the traditions of what did y'all call it?
The X generation.
Crystal Ball Run.
Crystal Ball
The
Run.
C-section?
The C-section. There's so many. Yeah, the C-section. Crystal Ball Run, otherwise known as the C-section for short. So just keep playing, keep scheduling, use game times, trade deadlines week 6, and thank you for being here. Any other closing statements?
Thank you all.
We're good. Sydney added a big explosion. Added a nuclear bomb.